Hi there, KOIN 6 Chief Meteorologist Josh Cozart here with your latest update where we are talking about fires still firing up just east of the Columbia River Gorge, a site for really the books because this is an extremely early start to what has already become a very explosive wildfire season. So again, make sure you are sharing this Facebook post or YouTube link with any of your followers. That way they can get the latest updates as we have really started to see a lot of these fires blow up over the past little while. I'm going to go ahead and pull up exactly what we are looking at as far as those fires go right now. We've got multiple really burning east of the Cascades. You can see the live image below me here picking up on those extremely dry conditions as the snow continues to melt up in elevation as well. That's where our temperatures have been hovering in towards the upper 50s and low 60s for much of the afternoon as the melting process still gets underway. Just some truly astonishing images, really captivating for us. This is the Rowena fire burning just to the west of the Dalles. This was taken last night from Tito Rodriguez from the Dalles, where you can just see how much of the landscape is being scorched across the Columbia River Gorge. This fire in particular got started just about this time yesterday, or earlier in the afternoon hours, just after about 1:30 in the afternoon. Again, the wildfire smoke polluting our skies as well. Corey Christensen sending in this video, again, from the Dalles area, from the Rowena fire. This was, of course, the view yesterday, but very similar sights, unfortunately, as those gusty winds, the dry, sunny conditions also remaining. But you'll also notice that a lot of the smoke plume not billowing its way vertically as opposed to horizontally. That's a good indication of those gusty winds that we have already been seeing. Now, it's not just the Rowena fire that we're concerned about. We're also talking about the Grant Lake fire. That is currently burning just a little bit further to the west in Skamania County. That's in southwest Washington, and that's where we have burned a little more than 10 acres or so. So that's one of the smaller of the fires, but still impactful for anybody living out towards the Cascades along the I-84 location. Again, the Rowena fire that has produced and issued a level 3 Go Now evacuation that started yesterday, still in place, is primarily to the north and west of the heart of the Dalles. So those actions need to be taken very heavily. As far as a little bit further south, that's where the Sunnyside fire has burned 750 acres and is at about 80% containment. So we're starting to see that one wind down. But the largest of the fires, that is the Ferry fire right now, burning over 5,000 acres. This one a little bit more of a remote area, but earlier today prompting a level 3 Go Now evacuation for the Sherman County area. Of course, we have the exact locations right now over at KOIN.com. It's right there on our homepage, so you can get the latest information on that. Just really seeing these fires spark up over the last little while, and our crews have been out there all day long tracking this, and I want to go ahead and toss things over to Joey Vaca from earlier today in our 6 o'clock newscast with the latest update and what he was able to see. Take a look.
I was talking with the Wasco County Sheriff. He tells me in his more than 20 years with the office, this is the worst fire he's ever seen. We have more than 825 homes on level 3 Go Now evacuation orders now. Fire officials especially concerned about the kind of activity we're seeing so early in the year.
It may feel like it's June 12th, but our conditions are more like August.
The Rowena fire raging through the gorge and what officials are calling a very early start to fire season.
We are typically in this conditions about in the 3rd or 4th week of July, which we call our 95 or 96 ERC percentiles. That's where we're at right now in this fire season. You may think it's green on the hillside, but it's not. It's burning, and it's burning well, as you can see.
Heavy winds are to blame for the fire's fast spread, structures already destroyed. Now, hotshot crews, the Oregon Department of Forestry, and others doing what they can to try and stop it from getting to more homes.
State Fire Marshal did a fantastic job mobilizing forces very quickly, which allowed us to put the structure resources on the homes, and then we can focus on getting a perimeter around the fire.
As crews work, more than 3,000 are still on evacuation notice from the Wasco County Sheriff's Office. That includes 1,500 different residences at level 1. There's more than 1,400 at level 2 ready to leave, and 825 in level 3 Go Now. ODF and the State Fire Marshal's Office are leading the investigation into the cause. For now, details are limited.
Fire is under investigation at this point, and so our folks are working really hard on trying to determine the cause. Most likely human activity of some kind, but that's as far as we would narrow it at this point. Very much under investigation.
As for those evacuation orders, the sheriff tells me he expects those to stay put as is for tonight, but crews still sounding the alarm about the late summer conditions we're seeing right now. And officials say when you look at the historic fire season we saw last year and the activity we're seeing right now, crews are bracing up for another very difficult fire season ahead. In the Dalles, Joey Vaca, KOIN 6 News.
Thank you, Joey, for that report. Of course, this is becoming a very volatile situation and rapidly changing for us as those gusty winds still remain very potent across the eastern half of our state. It's all because of an onshore flow that's actually helping to drop temperatures through the I-5 corridor this afternoon. You may have noticed it feeling significantly cooler, temperatures into the mid-70s. That trend is helping to bring a lot of those cooler temperatures close to the surface. Then it's funneled through the Columbia River Gorge, and as it exits, it warms up, it speeds up, and it dries out as it moves from higher elevations down to lower elevations. And that's why we are still holding on to the current wind speeds out towards the Dalles at nearly 25 miles per hour. Again, helping to push those flames into new dry territory. And on top of that, the winds are already drying everything out even more. So we'll go ahead, zoom in, and give you a bit of a forecast of where we expect to see these winds go over the next little while. As far as the relative humidity value, so that's going to be in the black box with the percentage. Right now, we're at about 42%. That is up with our relative humidity compared to where we had been, say, just about an hour or 2 hours ago. But we are anticipating it to improve both with those wind speeds and also with the relative humidity value by about 5:30 this morning, seeing 83% humidity. Winds dropping back to about 15 miles per hour, still on the gustier side, comparatively speaking, to where we would like to see them. But time is going to be of the essence for fire crews to get the upper hand on this blaze. And many of our blazes burning out towards the east when the humidity's higher and when our winds are going to be slower. Because watch, as we put this back into motion, by the time we move our way into tomorrow afternoon, seeing those wind gusts near almost 40 miles per hour, again for the Dalles, as the relative humidity drops back to about 35%. So we desperately need to see the return of some calmer conditions to help not only the fight with the Rowena fire, but also the Grant Lake fire. That's going to be a trend that we need to continue to see, and even through the late evening hours, expecting it to really stay on the high end. As our fire weather dangerous, so this is a combination of the wind, the temperature, but then also the relative humidity value. And that's where Pendleton is moving back up to about a 4. Andrews also seeing just about the same, but we'll take a closer look at the Columbia River Gorge. That's where we could be back up to that moderate to high category for the fire weather danger for tomorrow afternoon and evening. Down towards the southeast, we also start to see that fire up as well. Less than ideal, especially as our skies are remaining mostly dry, although I do want to take a closer look. We do have a few lightning strikes and have over the past several hours out towards the Deschutes County area. Now, lightning poses a big threat for us because it could potentially start and spread brand new wildfires. So we need to use extreme caution when hoping for some sort of moisture, because a lot of this not creating a lot of moisture for us rather than a hindrance with that lightning potential. But as far as the state goes, relatively on the dry side, especially here in Western Oregon and Southwest Washington, that's where we are picking up on those relatively dry conditions for us, as just those high thin cirrus clouds once again push their way back into the area. But it's really interesting. These fires are burning so strong, so hot, that you can actually see them from outer space. We'll give you a GOES 18 Western view. You can see some of the wildfire smoke pushing its way, but most of it is just that cloud coverage. I want to point out in particular the fairy fire. It's that just single dot of I'll take this full so you can actually see it in its entirety. But if I get my pointer here, I want to be able to point out and show you exactly where this is. And it's happening right there. You can see it. Just barely a soft glow. And that's a good indication of exactly where the biggest fire, again, over 5,000 acres for the Fairy Fire, now prompting a level 3 go now evacuation. Again, if you're just now joining us, you can find all of that information over at KOIN.com. But really an explosive past 24 hours for us as the hot and dry conditions continue to keep a tight grip. Again, just to look at those winds, I want to show you the Dalles in particular, a bit of a formal timestamp for us. We see those winds taper back tonight. That's good news. We want to see that as they fall close to about 15 to 20 miles per hour. But tomorrow afternoon, you'll notice they ramp back up again. And you can even see in the image below me live out towards Government Camp, some of those trees blowing in the breeze. Just really shows you that that's the start of the wind, and it only gets stronger from there as it moves its way closer to the Dalles. We've spoken about downsloping winds, in particular for us here in the valley. The same type of scenario was happening, but just on the east side of the Cascades now. That's where we are seeing those downsloping winds move up and over the high terrain, and as it descends, it warms up, it speeds up, and it dries out, creating the perfect storm for wildfires to start and spread rapidly. That's what we've already seen. Unfortunately, going to continue to see the same type of weather setup as we move our way through the next 24 hours or so. Thankfully, air quality not necessarily impacted too significantly. You can see parts of south central, southeastern sections just to the northwest of Pendleton, one single moderate air quality, but we will be monitoring this extremely close as we have that potential for it to pollute our skies even more. Here's a bit of a surface smoke forecast for you. Again, all of it coming from that Rowena fire burning just to the west of the Dalles. So the Dalles air quality, less than ideal, of course, despite what some of our readings are. But we're going to continue to see all of this smoke push its way further off to the east, even through tomorrow afternoon and evening. We'll start to see that subside once fire crews get the upper hand on the fire. Now, the fire weather outlook does remain elevated for us as we move our way through the rest of the night tonight, and unfortunately it worsens for an extended part of our forecasting area, much of the I-84 corridor, so that's going to be the north central regions of Oregon, south central of Washington, and then also the elevated fire risk ramps up again for the southeast corner of our state as well. Now, I want to go ahead and really just kind of pinpoint the human aspect of this. These fires devastating abnormally early in the season for us, and I want to go ahead and bring in our very own Joelle Jones, who has a closer look at what some of the devastation has left behind from the Rowena fire and multiple fires burning through the Columbia River Gorge. Take a look.
We're here in Rowena, just off of exit 76. It's been heartbreaking to watch as cars full of people approach the sheriff's office at that closure over there, tears in their eyes as they're asking to double back for items left behind and pets. You can see the air. This wind is really starting to kick up, moving that smoke around and creating quite a challenge for firefighters. And just take a look at the devastation. This is off of Highway 30, several homes and cars completely leveled by this fire. I spoke with one man who lost everything.
I knew it was always a risk living in this area. There's always fires. Just kind of one of those, you never think it's going to happen to you, but very real it does.
Sifting through a pile of rubble where his home stood just days ago. Burnt metal, ash, and debris, all that's left of Nick Gritch's house of 5 years. He tells me he was visiting the coast with family when evacuation alerts began pouring in.
I got a level 3 by the time I was in Cascade Locks, and by the time I hit Hood River, my neighbor had called me and sent me pictures of what was going on. So it was fast. It was really fast.
He is one of several people left picking up the pieces as the Rowena fire, fueled by high winds, continues to burn between Mosier and the Dalles. Utility crews working to repair melted power lines today as helicopters and planes drop water from above and fire crews battle the blaze on the ground.
I'm more sad about the things I can't replace, the pictures, some of my son's artwork, but the rest of it's just stuff. You know, you can buy more stuff.
We spoke with Nick as he saw what was left of his property for the first time.
I'm sad about the missed opportunities of my son growing up here. It's great. Had a park right across the street, boat ramp. Used to go fishing and catching lizards and gardening.
And he's not alone. We personally counted at least 3 homes destroyed. The State Fire Marshal's office says OSP and the Wasco County Sheriff's Office are actively combing through the devastation to count the structures lost to the flames.
We did everything we could to mitigate the fire danger, you know, but fires don't care. If I was here, it wouldn't have been any different. So I'm just glad everybody was safe.
And again, this is an active fire zone. The Wasco County Sheriff's Office says they have had reports of people parking their cars along I-84 and other dangerous places and walking right into level 3 go now evacuation zones. They are urging people not to go inside these areas for their safety and for the safety of fire crews working on the ground to protect property at this moment. Of course, we will continue to track this very closely and bring you any updates on air and online at KOIN.com. Reporting in Rowena tonight, I'm Joelle Jones, KOIN 6 News.
Just truly heartbreaking sights, unfortunately, coming in from much of our area. So our hearts go out to all of those folks who are being impacted by these fires. I think that it brings up a lot of emotion from the 2020 fires and even fires before then, and unfortunately fires that are likely still to come through this season, as we are now already in this thick of what seems to be wildfire season earlier and earlier for us. It unfortunately is no surprise, especially when we were talking about Portland's long, dry stretch of weather, now over a week since we have seen measurable rainfall. It was back on June 4th of this year where we picked up on just a little bit more of a tenth of an inch. Our rain deficit for the month also now growing to over 6/10 of an inch. We desperately need to see the return of some wet weather, and thankfully that will be in the cards. Of course, it's not the thunderstorm activity that we would like to see out towards Deschutes County, but nonetheless, a little bit of moisture may be coming to fruition with those. But they're not going to be making their way into places like the Willamette Valleys. Those high thin cirrus clouds remain. Temperatures now falling back into the 60s and 70s. Very little temperature change for us, at least for the western half of our states. But for the central and eastern, we have seen those temperatures down anywhere from 10 to 15 degrees from earlier today, as our cameras look like they have been disconnected. But again, the hazy skies still remain as our temperatures are expected to remain on the cooler side through the rest of this evening. Weather pattern really kind of falls apart as warmer air pushes its way further to the east, and then we are going to be picking up on a bit of a mild trend as we move our way into Friday before warm air pushes its way a little bit further off to the west as well. Our futurecast definitely demonstrating that we are holding on to a lot of that marine layer for the coastline, which is good news. That onshore flow that's kind of cutting through the Columbia River Gorge and eventually ending up on the other side of things where those fires are burning. But we do increase the cloud coverage for the western half of our area by the time we work our way into Saturday afternoon sunshine returns, and then that kind of begins our latest warming trend for us here across the Pacific Northwest. Tonight here in the city, falling back to about 49 degrees. Tomorrow, the coolest day of this week at 70, a stark difference compared to the record-breaking temperatures we felt just back on Sunday with highs in the mid-90s, even Monday starting off in the mid-90s, a much different, cooler picture for us here across the Portland, Vancouver metro area. Closer look at that 7-day forecast where we are really kind of seeing that cooling trend slow as we move our way into Father's Day Sunday. 80 degrees more sunshine, but there is a glimmer of hope, a chance for a few scattered showers by the time we work our way into Wednesday and Thursday. Unfortunately, these rain showers not likely to bring us back or push its way over the Cascades to reduce that wildfire potential. But hopefully it will cool temperatures enough, increase the relative humidity value at just the same. That way that potential starts to subside. That's going to do it for this KOIN Now special edition. On Facebook, YouTube, we will have the latest information right now at KOIN.com, or you can tune in on Portland's CW at 10 o'clock. And here, just starting now on KOIN Plus, is the Portland Pride Special, where you can join me sharing and celebrating Portland Pride Month in June. But again, the latest updates on all of the fire activity on KOIN 6 News tonight at 11.